You ever walk into a room and realize your whole life's changed in the space of a breath? That was me, standing at the doorway of our penthouse, key card still warm in my hand, staring down a scene I couldn't have dreamed up in my worst nightmares. My husband, Ryan, 7 years married, 12 together, sat laughing on the Italian leather sofa, champagne sweating on the table, and a blonde in a dress that probably cost more than my first car draped across his lap. They weren't just flirting. This was hands-on, lips on, and the only thing separating them from a bad movie was the fact that it was happening in my living room. Let me back up a sec. You ever notice how betrayal isn't loud? It's not yelling. It's not slamming doors. It's quiet, surgical. Ryan looked up at me. That familiar face I thought I knew better than my own, and all I saw was annoyance. Like I'd interrupted his Netflix binge, not his affair. "You're home early," he said, not moving. Not even trying to hide her. Scarlett. The infamous Scarlett. Guess he had a type, and apparently, I wasn't it anymore. I just stood there, frozen, trying to swallow the 1,000 pieces my life had just shattered into. You spend years building a story together, wedding at the plaza, custom dress, society pages, all that nonsense, thinking you're building something solid. Turns out, sometimes you're just painting gold on cardboard and hoping no one notices it's hollow. But here's the thing. Moments like that, when you feel like you're falling through your own life, sometimes they're the exact cracks where the light finally gets in. I didn't know it then, but losing everything in that room was exactly what I needed to start finding myself. And I wasn't going to do it alone, because sometimes the universe, or karma, or just New York itself, sends you a wild card. For me, that was Damien Rawford, Ryan's business rival, the man whose name made every dinner party tense. The guy with a reputation for playing chess while everyone else was stuck at checkers. Back when Ryan and I were building Ashford Capital from the ground up, I was the good wife. MBA in hand, running investor relations, planning the parties, working the room like my life depended on it. And in a way it did. Because in Manhattan, your marriage is part of your brand. Our penthouse was a monument to that. Marble, orchids, floor-to-ceiling windows, all curated to look effortless. And I worked harder at making it all look effortless than anyone will ever know. But as the years rolled by, something in Ryan shifted. Late nights, secretive texts, stories that didn't add up. I played the part, perfect hostess, never out of place, always smiling through the busy season and big deals. Until one night, when an anonymous phone call during a charity meeting told me the truth. Scarlett wasn't a rumor, she was an 8-month reality. Suddenly, all the cracks in my marriage made sense, and the person on the other end of the call, another woman at the firm, told me exactly where to find them. So I walked in on the end of my own story, expecting shock or at least guilt. What I got was indifference. Ryan had already made up his mind, and the worst part? He made me feel like I should have seen it coming. "You're just maintenance." "Kimberly," he said, pouring himself a scotch, while Scarlett gathered her designer things and walked right by me, eyes cold. "You plan parties, smile for the cameras, but you're boring now." Scarlett's exciting. Yeah, that happened. And then, just like that, he told me he wanted a divorce. And by the way, everything was his. Prenup ironclad. Penthouse under the company. Good luck. The pain was sharp, but the isolation cut even deeper. Suddenly, my phone was silent. No brunch invites, no committee meetings. Turns out, friends can disappear faster than a bonus in a bad quarter. The only call I made that first night was to Patricia, my lawyer. The prenup was everything Ryan promised. Ironclad, built to protect him. I was about to walk away with $500,000, a rounding error in our world, and not much else. But that's not the part that guts you. It's realizing your social circle was never yours. You were just the plus one to Ryan's main act. Here's where the twist comes in. After weeks of feeling like a ghost in my own life, I ran into Damien at a gala. The same place where Ryan and Scarlett put on a show for everyone who used to be my friends. Damien saw right through the act. "Ryan's been playing checkers while I play chess," he said. And for the first time in weeks, someone wasn't treating me like a pariah or a punchline. He slid me his card, said if I wanted to know what was really going on at Ashford Capital, he could help. That night, after another knife twist text from Scarlett, I stared at Damien's card and realized something. Maybe I was done being polite. Maybe I was done losing. I messaged Damien, And over breakfast at Balthazar, he showed me exactly what Ryan had been hiding. Offshore accounts, cooked books, $12 million of community property stashed away like he was prepping for a one-man apocalypse. He's been planning his exit for a long time, Damien said. You deserve more than what he's offering. And for the first time, I felt something close to hope. Or maybe it was just the spark of anger finally pointed in the right direction. We hatched a plan. I'd go public with the financials, force Ryan into court, freeze his assets, and in the meantime, Damien would help me rebuild. Not as arm candy, but as an equal. He offered me a role at his firm. Real work, real responsibility. Let Manhattan see you moving on, thriving, he said. Let Ryan realize he didn't just lose a wife. He lost his biggest asset. It was part strategy, part revenge. But for the first time in months, I felt like I had a hand on the steering wheel. The legal battle was ugly. Ryan tried to smear me, accused me of stealing, called me vindictive. But with Damien's evidence and Patricia's brilliance, his lawyers didn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, the social narrative flipped. Suddenly, I was the woman who traded up, the one who didn't just survive. She thrived. Working at Rochefort Holdings, learning from Elena, the COO, I rediscovered the sharpness I thought I'd lost. Damien and I made public appearances, business dinners, art openings, and the city took notice. I was no longer Ryan's ex. I was Kimberly, a force in my own right. The real turning point? When the forensic accountant found that Ryan had been stealing from his own investors for millions, skimmed over 3 years. That was leverage. We settled out of court, $22 million, a seat on Damien's advisory board, and the freedom to build something real. I started Reclaim Advisory, helping other women navigate high-stakes divorces, giving them the roadmap I'd never had. Over time, Damien and I became more than allies. What started as mutual advantage grew into respect, then something more. Real partnership. Late-night strategy sessions turned into dinners, then into something softer, deeper. We built a life on our own terms. No pretending, no shrinking. When Ryan's world finally collapsed, Ashford Capital bankrupt, Scarlett long gone, I felt nothing but relief. The past was behind me. 3 years later, standing in the grand hall of the Met, accepting an award for Reclaim's impact, I realized how far I'd come. I saw women in the audience who'd once whispered about my downfall. Now they saw me as an example of what's possible. When Scarlett showed up at my office, broken and asking for help, I gave it to her. Not out of pity, but because holding on to anger would only hurt me. We're all just trying to find our way out of someone else's shadow. And if you're still with me, if you're rooting for Kimberly, or maybe you see a little of your own story here, tell me below. Would you have taken the settlement? Burned it all down? What does justice look like to you? Drop your thoughts, your city, your story. Subscribe if you want more, because around here, we rise from the ashes and we write our own endings.